Secrets of Power, Untold Stories from Suleiman the Magnificent's Ottoman Empire. The empire that could write with fire. By the time Suleiman ascended the throne in 1520, the Ottoman Empire was already a formidable power. But he envisioned something greater, an empire not only of territory but of legacy. He understood what few rulers did: power is not only taken with the sword, it is preserved with law, culture, and control over narrative. Under his rule, Istanbul became more than a capital, it became a stage. From the architecture of Mimar Sinan to the poetry of Baki, Suleiman shaped not only cities but minds. But this refinement concealed something darker, a regime in which power was absolute, and even princes were not safe. The blood price of royalty. In the West, Suleiman was celebrated as a lawgiver. At home, he was feared as a ruthless strategist. One of the most haunting truths of his reign was the execution of his own son, Prince Mustafa. Beloved by the army and admired by the people, Mustafa was seen by many as the rightful heir. But power does not tolerate popularity, not when suspicion blooms in the harem. Historians still debate the influence of Hürrem Sultan, Suleiman's powerful consort, in the prince's fall. But one thing is certain: the Ottoman court during this period was not just a palace. It was a battlefield, a silent war fought with whispers, alliances, and poisoned ink. Hürrem and the Silent Revolution. Hürrem Sultan, born as a slave, became one of the most powerful women in world history. In a court where women were expected to remain silent shadows, she spoke through influence. She broke centuries-old traditions by marrying the Sultan and placed her own sons in line for the throne. But Hürrem's revolution was not loud. It was woven into daily rituals, sealed in secret letters, and reinforced by networks of loyal servants. What began as affection became strategy. What was once a romance turned into dynastic redesign. Suleiman's empire was being reshaped, not just by military campaigns in Hungary or Persia, but by a woman who understood power without needing a sword. The empire's mirror, architecture and control. While his armies marched on Vienna and Baghdad, Suleiman was also building something eternal, a city that would reflect his rule for centuries. The mosques, schools, bridges, and aqueducts commissioned during his reign weren't merely acts of piety or generosity. They were messages carved in stone: I am order. I am divinely chosen. Mimar Sinan, the architect who served 3 sultans, became the physical voice of Suleiman's ambition. The Suleimani Mosque, with its perfect balance of simplicity and grandeur, wasn't just a place of worship, it was a political statement, rising above the city like the empire over its subjects. The Forgotten Fronts. While Europe remembers the siege of Vienna, many forget the naval battles in the Mediterranean, the diplomatic chess games with France, or the subtle penetration into African trade routes. Suleiman's empire didn't rely solely on war. It thrived on diplomacy, intelligence, and soft power. The Ottomans placed agents in foreign courts, offered sanctuary to persecuted minorities in Spain, and forged strategic alliances with unexpected partners. These quiet victories rarely make the history books, but they were the bricks upon which the empire's longevity rested. A legacy written in shadows. When Suleiman died in 1566, his body was secretly buried to prevent chaos in the army ranks. His death was concealed for weeks, a fitting end for a ruler who mastered the art of power behind the curtain. The world remembers his golden throne, his conquests, his laws. But few recall the price of that power: lost sons, divided families, and silenced voices. Suleiman built an empire that glittered on the outside but was carved by hands few dared to see. And yet, the echo of his reign still shapes the Middle East, Europe, and even modern leadership, proof that the past never truly sleeps. It waits to be found in the lost pages of history.